But I want to go to our guest, and I want to bring in right now and welcome him back to In the Dugout. There you are.
I'm not sure I can follow you after that. I caught a few minutes of what you have, and it's quite sobering.
You know, Doc, I go away on vacation. You and I talk regularly. You're the, for full disclaimer, you're the chairman of the Rhode Island Center for Freedom and Prosperity, which is the parent organization of the Ocean State Current In the Dugout. And I come back on the weekend, and Ian Donis, who wrote this article, sends me a text. Hey, did you see this? And I come back vacation to see that my chairman is considering a run for Congress. What the hell did you do while I was away, Doc Skoly?
Mike, don't go away.
I don't go away. All right.
I'll start because I've got to lighten it up just a little bit because I haven't been on your show in a while. I do have a UConn hat.
Oh, okay. National champions.
That's where I went to school.
Yes, you are a UConn guy. That's right. Congratulations on that.
I grew up in Connecticut, and that's where I went to dental school.
All right, so Doc, here's the article on the Public's Radio, which is the former NPR of Rhode Island. And apparently, tell us what happened. They called you over the weekend. Why did they call you? They asked you if you were running. You were kind of caught off guard, as I understand it.
Yeah,
tell us quickly the story.
Obviously, when I'm out and about, and I've had the chance of being on your show and talking about my adventures over the last couple of years, and people are in tune, and they say that with a lot of people. You should run for office. You should run for office. And my concept and my answer typically has been, well, you should run. When you run, I'll run, or something like that. But more recently, with this going on, I mean, my colleagues, my friends, family, everybody we talk to, we're a country in free fall. We're not in just decline. Just what you presented a few minutes ago, and congratulations on your social studies standards. That's a feather in your cap. Good for you. We're a country in free fall, and it's happening in so many different spaces. And
most of it is based on completely false narratives, right?
And that's certainly what they did in my case. Just to review. The government tyranny, prevented me from practicing for about 6 months. My history quickly, I had COVID. I had worked through the whole pandemic. I had natural immunity. I had antibodies. We were monitoring everything. I challenged the narrative because in my particular history, I had a couple incidences of Bell's palsy secondary to Lyme disease. So I didn't want to get a vaccine that I didn't need, that was of no benefit, that would potentially harm me. The government wanted no part of that. And now that we see through this whole pandemic, I mean, there's cases about—
And they shut you down.
They shut me down. Without a hearing, it's been almost 2 years. I still have never had a hearing before my appropriate regulatory body.
Right. So first, just quickly, kind of yes or no.
Sure.
Or not yes or no, but very quickly, because I want to get to some larger points.
Yep.
Where are you in your thought process right now? You said in the article you're thinking about it. How would you categorize, first of all, how seriously you're thinking about it?
I wouldn't be on this show if I was not seriously considering it.
All right, and we're talking about a run for David Cicilline, soon to be vacant seat in Congressional District 1. There'll be primaries late in the summer, and there'll be a fall election, right? Just so everyone knows what's going to happen. There are no announced Republican candidates. Would you run as a Republican?
I would run as a Republican. I have until June 28th to make that decision. I'm going to be speaking to a multitude of people over the next few weeks and months to see what the feasibility is, what the cost is, what the impact is on my life, what the impact is on my practice, what the impact is on my patients. More importantly, though, what is the impact on Rhode Islanders and those around the nation who I would eventually be representing?
Let me ask you this. You just talked about what happened to you, the tyranny, the medical policies and mandates based on what we know now was zero data and supporting data, zero qualified medical research. It was pure arbitrary tyranny in making the mandates, enforcing it against you. Is that the primary, is what happened to you the primary motivation of why you're running, so that we can try to return to evidence-based, science-based decisions and stop this arbitrary, these false narratives that the government is constantly putting out. Am I correct in assuming that or not?
Well, it's certainly the sign and symptom. It's a sign and symptom of what happened to me and how the government and its tyranny and its, quite honestly, bull-faced lying can take the average citizen down. But not only is it doing it in the healthcare space, it's doing it everywhere. It's certainly doing it. You just went into a dissertation about, public education. While you were doing that, I looked to see how much Rhode Island could be spending on K through 12 public education just through the COVID phenomena. And I don't know if Rhode Islanders know that Rhode Island, according to the Economic Progress Institute, received over $4 billion in COVID aid.
In some kind of COVID relief.
Some kind of fashion. I just looked, $415 million went to K through 12 education, probably to fund some of the programs that you're just talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Gender ideology.
We know for a fact they did.
Yep. And I mean, I went to a gender ideology forum. I've been lecturing and traveling around. I mean, it's childhood mutilation with no science. It's despicable.
So would it be safe to summarize? Look, you had your right to run a business falsely and corruptly infringed upon by Governor Dan McKee, the Rhode Island Department of Health, and others. As you just said, they're doing it in many other areas as well, from climate change to the transgender issue. I mean, you name it. There's the school lockdown hoax. There's all kinds of hoaxes going on out there being pushed by the government and the left. I think what happened to you is the perfect example of how that can harm the everyday Rhode Islander. Your thoughts?
It sure is. And, I want everybody to understand the health and safety of my patients and staff was never compromised, never in jeopardy. The state even would ask me to take care of some of their patients while I was going through this process. I've been vaccinated a multitude of times. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Like I said, I just didn't need this vaccine. But how did that affect our military strength? We're looking at all the world disorder right now. So there's a couple things that are really important to me if we leave some of the social issues out. The integrity of our country and our sovereignty. So we could talk about immigration and the border. It used to be just the southern border. From now, what I'm understanding, it's even New Hampshire. So we have immigration issues that affect the average Rhode Islander. They really do. We have our military issues. I mean, we have the world in disarray. We have De Silva from Brazil meeting with the Chinese.
Yep.
Our military, there was just an article in the Wall Street Journal today about how we can't recruit because the military potential personnel, these young kids, they can't pass a physical exam. They can't pass a drug exam. Many of them haven't graduated from high school, or they have a criminal background. Where does that start? It starts in the education system. I was laughing the other day. I saw that McKee wants to have another 1 million hours of education for the kids. They don't go to school now. Not only do they not go to school, the teachers even have a higher absentee rate. Everything you look at will make you.
All right, so let's relate this to Congress, right? Because so you mentioned some statewide issues, you mentioned some federal issues. You're running for federal. Well, if you decide to run, you'd be running for federal office. Let me see if I can pull this thought together. Would it be safe to say that? Because, well, look, do you agree? I think you and I have talked about this before. The left sees Rhode Island as kind of a test tube. Let's try out some of our craziest ideas in the state where we know we can get them passed and implemented. And I talked about some of those today, and I've been talking about them for 2 or 3 years on this show. Yeah. So we agree. Rhode Island
there because I've been talking about that for 20 years because I went back when they were doing Hillary Care before Obamacare. They literally said at Brown University, with the critical mass of Rhode Island, 1 million people, it's a great test tube. It's a great petri dish. We can try. It's a laboratory model. We can see what works here. They will do it. So what's going on in Rhode Island is no different than what's going on in, you said, Oregon, Washington.
Well, in some states it's no different, but so if Rhode Island is at the vanguard of this liberal, woke, progressive left movement, would it be safe to say that based on what you've seen in Rhode Island, if you're elected to Congress, that you want to try to stop that baloney from happening federally? Would that be safe to say?
Absolutely. We have to get back to some normalcy. And it's not, in my opinion, it's not, I hate that term, new normal. There's no new normal. The new normal is crazy. We have to get back to some normalcy, some respect for the Constitution, some respect for your freedom of speech, some respect for fair and equal treatment. You know, those are all national issues. I think at the national agenda, I think a lot of elected officials have forgot about our Constitution. Another thing I've always talked about is financially our debt. So that's a national issue. We're undergoing what I call, and you want to get younger people into the mix and have them vote. There's a phenomenon going on right now called intergenerational insolvency. We're basically screwing the younger people with Social Security.
Yeah, multi-generational poverty is a term I've heard a lot of. Yeah.
Our debt, you know, our true debt, they say, is 30 million. Some of the economists that I talked to that are well versed in this, they talk about something called the fiscal gap, and this is a national issue. The fiscal gap is approaching $200 trillion. $200 trillion. That includes unfunded Social Security, Medicare, health insurance for military and for federal employees. I mean, the numbers are extraordinary.
All right. I don't want to get too far into the weeds.
We can't afford anything.
All right. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on any one policy issue, because I know that you would still have to get all your policy statements together and on paper, but I want to keep it at a higher level, if you don't mind, Doc. So
no problem.
You just talked about some traditional conservative campaign issues like constitutional rights, like economic issues, national debt, immigration. You mentioned a whole bunch of them right there, but you also use some terms like crazy. You talked about education. I have been crying out on this show for a candidate who has the courage, the strength, and the thick skin to engage in the culture wars. We've never seen that. Republican, in fact, this article that I just National Review by Stanley Kurtz today, in that article, it mentioned how no Republican stood up to ride when they put forward these obviously bogus and divisive and inaccurate social studies standards. There has been no Republican in this state candidate for any major office anyway, who has had the courage or wisdom, I would say, to engage in the culture war. So certainly you're going to cover all the traditional campaign issues that you have to, but are you afraid, Dr. Stephen Skoly, if you run for Congress, to engage in the culture war issues?
I would say the answer is I'm going to give you, I would almost abolish both the Department of Education and the Department of Energy. Those two departments this year under the new Biden budget got 13 and 19% increases. The Department of Defense got a 3.2 increase. So basically with inflation, the Department of the Military.
Why the Department of Education?
Because look at our test scores over the last couple of decades. We're not in the top 20.
Right, but that's not the culture war. You're talking about traditional stuff.
That's part of the culture war.
All right, go ahead. Tell me why. Tie it in.
Okay. The test scores continually go down. We're not teaching the STEM. We're not teaching science, technology, math. We're going to have a culture war. I hear there's a different type of math for Afro-Americans. I've seen some of that craziness. That's part of the Department of Education. The Department of Energy. We were self-sufficient a few years ago. Now we're not. The Department of Energy has been. I think that was started under Nixon. We haven't performed with that parameter. There are so many issues like that, and no
parental rights in education. Where do you stand? A lot of parent groups have been on this group. Where do you stand in support of them?
Until a child is 18 years old, the parent has all the rights in the world, unless they're something that's a felony or they're abusing, unless they violated a law. The family needs to come back. That's a culture war. Parents. You got to
At
have
a high level, how are you going to be different from Representative David Cicilline, from Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, from Senator Jack Reed, from Representative Seth Magaziner? How are you going to be, and probably from all of the likely Democrat candidates, at least that we know of, how at the highest level, how are you going to provide an alternative to what is, look, you got to understand it's a very difficult district. It's plus 27 Democrat. How are you going to be different?
I thought it might not be as difficult as you think, because I spent a little time in Newport the other day. The military is based there. The military doesn't like what's going on in this country. That's number one. A lot of the Providence police don't like what's going on in Providence. A lot of those candidates, they were defund the police. I'm not going to be timid about anything. I haven't been timid through my whole adventure at this point. I'm not about to be timid. I think my downside, I'm not going to ask. I'm not a good person at raising a lot of money. I don't want people's money. I want people's vote. I want their vote, their confidence, their support of good public policy.
Why would at a high level, why would a black family or a minority family in Providence, because Congressional District 1 is heavily Providence and heavily a lot of woke towns like Barrington and whatnot. Why would somebody, let's just focus on a minority in Providence. Why would a minority voter in Providence vote for Steve Skoly rather than them casting their vote traditionally for Democrats?
A healthy economy, a healthy United States, a healthy Rhode Island gives that family the opportunity to have a job, the self-worth that comes with the job, the pride that comes with the job. They can then participate in our society at a more appropriate level. It was called in a lot of the theorists, it's the sequence where the kids go to school. They have a good school system. If not, they have school choice, they have charters, they have a combination.
Wait a minute, school choice, you'd be for some kind of federal funding of school choice?
If that was what appropriate, or schooling at home. There's all kinds of options. The educational system needs to be redone. It needs to be revamped. So that child then has the hope of what the original founders of America wanted. You have a chance to get ahead. You have a good lifestyle.
Would you talk to a black family about the critical race theory and the transgender theories that are being pushed on their kids?
I'll talk to anybody about anything. I've done it all my life. I've been practicing for almost 40 years. We talk about this stuff with our patients. We have kids that have lost their way, and sometimes after the surgery we sit them down. Sometimes I'll say to the parents, "How'd I do? What do you think? What are you doing? Come back to me. Let me know."
All right, we only got a minute or two left, Doc. First, a couple technicalities. It's not a requirement, but you don't live in Congressional District 1. You live in East Greenwich. Congressional District 1 is Providence and pretty much the whole East Bay. You'll probably be called a sandbagger or something like that. What is your response to that? Have you thought about that?
Well, I've lived in Rhode Island, all my life. I probably pay more taxes. I have a little farm down in Jamestown. I probably pay more taxes in District 1 than I do in District 2. So on a tax basis, that's not completely accurate. I don't think for someone who has good public policy and is looking forward to understanding the challenges that Rhode Islanders face, I don't think they care where I live.
Okay. And second of all, you are the chairman of our nonpartisan Rhode Island Center for Freedom and Prosperity. We had a chairman, oh God, I don't even know how many years, 6 years ago. Our chairman six years ago ran for state treasurer, Mike Riley. He had run for Congress against Langevin some years before that, but he wasn't on our board at that first time. But when it was on our board and ran for treasurer, because he was running as a partisan, because he was a candidate, we can't get him. He temporarily stepped down as chairman. Have you thought about how that would impact an actual run for Congress would impact your role as chairman of our Center for Freedom and Prosperity.
Certainly, and I sent a quick note out today. I serve at the direction of the board, and whatever is the most appropriate thing is certainly what I would do.
Okay, even if that meant temporarily stepping down.
Absolutely, and I obviously appreciate, love all the support that I've gotten from the Rhode Island Center for Freedom and Prosperity, over the last few years. I can't thank you guys enough.
Well, you supported us. We should be thanking you. Unfortunately, we can't support you if you decide to run. It's just not allowed per IRS rules. All right, Doc, final question. What's your timetable? I mean, you're on the board now. People are watching you. This interview, I'm sure they'll be doing other interviews. What's your timetable, and what's going to be the key factor that makes you decide one way or the other, and when?
Sure. The drop dead date is obviously June 28th. I'd like to have a decision certainly before that. I think it's going to be predicated on the type of support, type of response, and type of discussions I have with everybody around the state of Rhode Island going forward over the next few weeks. Will make my determination. But I never thought I would be at this point, and I'm seriously considering a run for Congress.
Will you form an exploratory committee first?
Yes.
Or go right to a decision?
Oh, I'm going to think about and discuss this with an exploratory committee.
All right.
And try to get a little research done as quickly as I can.
So summarizing, Dr. Stephen Skoly, our chairman, you are considering a run for Congress. What happened to you, the injustice that happened to you with your shutdown of your business for standing up to the bogus, non-scientific supported vaccine mandate. You're basically saying the government has turned on the people with bogus narratives, and you want to put a stop to it. Is that fair enough?
That's fair enough. And it's obviously, a little bit more complicated than that.
Of course, a lot broader than that.
That's a good place to start.
All right, Dr.
Skoly, we still have the right of free speech, and they should be treated fairly and equally. And that doesn't happen in a lot of arenas, and that has to be corrected.
Second Amendment rights as well?
Exactly.
Okay. Dr. Stephen Skoly, thank you for being our guest on In the Dugout. We wish you good luck with your deliberation. It's a huge step. It's a life change. I mean, look, you're battle tested. You've battled the state of Rhode Island privately and publicly already. You'll be battling Democratic opponents, maybe a Republican opponent, who knows, soon publicly as well. As far as I'm concerned, you're battle tested, and we would wish you nothing but the best of luck if you decide to run. I'm sure we'll have you back on our show soon.
No, and I appreciate it. The timing is good. I mean, in the next couple of days, we have, the Second Amendment being tested at our state house, and I certainly review all the potential legislation and the comments, from both sides. And I paid my taxes today, so that's important, and that has an impact on every Rhode Island citizen. So the timing of our meeting today is certainly appropriate. So thanks for giving me the time.
Doc, you're very welcome, and we'll have you back soon, Dr. Stephen Skoly.